Thank you, Dr. Henning, and good evening to everyone. I really appreciate this opportunity to share with fellow producers and other hay nuts some of my experiences, successes, failures, and lessons learned. And as I have heard Clayton Gerald say in the past, this is just how I do it. I'm not here to tell anyone this is how it should be done on your farm. That being said, let me tell you a little bit about my operation. We are currently farming about 450 acres in Southwest Simpson, Southeast Logan counties, down on the Tennessee state line. My son Wesley has taken over the row crop farming, which consists of 200 acres of double crop wheat and beans, 50 acres of full season beans, and about 100 acres of corn. I currently grow about 80 acres of alfalfa, 25 acres of grass, and sell about 25,000 bales of wheat straw each year. All are small square bales. I also sell about 30 semi-loads of pine needles each year. I started this enterprise as a backhaul for my hay deliveries to Georgia, but now it's grown into a good business of its own. I built my farming empire on cheap child labor. I couldn't have accomplished what I have without the help of my wife and kids. By the age of 15, each one of them could do everything I could do on the farm. I've been growing alfalfa for 21 years. I grew up on a row crop and tobacco farm. My father didn't like growing hay, but when I was young, we did bale wheat straw, and my grandfather was into hay hauling. I had always wanted to try hay for some crazy reason. It had always appealed to me. In 1988, I started back baling straw when I got out of the Army. It was the only avenue back into farming due to the farming crash of the 80s. I bought an old Massey Ferguson 12 baler for $1,000 and fixed up a lot of old farm wagons. We did everything the hard way, and sometimes still do. I worked at a construction equipment company in Nashville, Tennessee, managing the rental department. I handed out cards to any customers doing dirt work or landscaping. I had a 1987 Ford Ranger on which I could haul 34 bales of straw. I took a load 2 or 3 days a week. Since I already had all the necessary equipment, moving into hay was the next logical step, so I planted 10 acres of alfalfa in 1999. I didn't really know much about alfalfa at the time, but I liked the fact that you got 5 chances to cut it and get it baled. I'm currently growing pure alfalfa. I haven't had much luck with the mixes. I can't keep the weeds out of it. The grass I bale is just common mixed grass that I get off the waterways and neighbors' 5 acre lots. Last year, we baled 5,000 bales off of 25 acres of ground. Our average land cost on that was only $30 an acre. The primary equipment I use is a 9-foot disc bind, a V-rake, a square baler, and a stack wagon. Most of the time, I have the field cut by noon the first day. It dries the second day, and I start baling about noon on the third day, and we have it picked up by nightfall. The majority of my alfalfa goes to horse farms in Georgia. While quality is a factor, my clientele is more focused on good hay at a good price, and of course, they want it green. I have found that this combination works pretty well to preserve the color. I don't use preservatives. I've tried them, but they just don't fit into my program. For us, the spring hay harvest starts at green up with the application of herbicides and insecticides. This past year, I bought a sprayer to be used exclusively for hay. Spraying gets done on a lot more timely schedule when I don't have to stop and clean out the sprayer every time I need it. When we service the mowers and the balers. I send my balers out to my baler guy when we finish in the fall. He's less pushed then and gives the balers a good going over and makes any needed repairs. We wash and wax our balers. This helps when it comes to blowing off the dust in the summer and greatly improves their appearance at trade-in. When it's time for the first cutting, I just wing it based on the conditions. I have a few different plays I throw at it. I have 6 fields scattered across the farm, ranging in size from 8 acres to 20 acres. If I can get some decent weather in April or early May, I'll cut a field or two and wrap it for haylage. The goal is not so much the hay as it is to get the second cutting coming. Next, since the weather is usually still crappy, I will target one of the 8-acre fields if there's a small weather window. This way, if I lose a gamble, I don't lose too much. This is a picture of where I lost the gamble this last year. We finally just had to scatter it back out about 10 or 15 days after our first attempt to bale it. If the weatherman is still saying good things, I may cut the other 8-acre field. And if the forecast is exceptionally dry, I'll go all out and cut a big field rather than the smaller ones. My main objective with the first cutting is to get the next 5 cuttings on some sort of a decent rotation. Theoretically, we should be cutting hay every 5 days from May to October. So we cut on Monday, watch it dry on Tuesday, bale it and put it in the barn on Wednesday, clean and service the equipment on Thursday, and then we go fishing on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you believe that, I've got some land for sale in Arizona. Of course, weather in Kentucky is highly unpredictable. In case you can't tell what this is, it's a picture I took this past season from the cab of my bale wagon. We got hit so hard and fast by a thunderstorm that I got stuck before I could even just get out of the field. So we always have a backup plan for when the weather is soupy. My first line of defense is that overmature hay is still worth more than wet hay. So we wait. I have waited as much as 10 or 15 days or more and still gotten decent hay as long as I handle it right. Remember, they just want it green. I have recently started planting low lignin alfalfa. The plant doesn't become stemmy if it stands too long. Seems to be holding very well in the field. My second line of defense is to cut small quantities during iffy weather windows. This is why I have the different size fields. You can do this by cutting half a field or some portion of a field, but I hate to have a field at 2 different growth stages. It's a mess all year long. I have 2 8-acre fields, a 10-acre field, and a 12-acre field. At least one of these is almost always ready for cutting. If the weather is very good, I just cut more than one field. My third line of defense is extra capacity. We are very over-equipped. At least that's what my accountant says. I've got a lot of iron for an operation this size. I have 3 hay mowers, 5 hay rakes, 3 hay balers, 2 bale wagons, 3 trucks, and 30 semi-trailers. And that's not including what I can borrow from neighbors. I run at about 50% capacity in normal conditions. We normally cut about 15 acres and have it on the ground by noon. I don't cut hay in the afternoons. But if things get really bad, I can knock down the entire 80 acres in one day. I've had to do that only once in 20 years. But more realistically, I may cut as much as 40. I can run 2 mowers, a couple of rakes, both square balers, and both bale wagons and get it done in a hurry. The fourth and final solution to bad weather hay is cows. If you grow hay, you better have cows. I don't really like cattle, but I've got 5 cows and a few feeders, which I sell for freezer beef, just for the sole purpose of being hay garbage disposals. Damaged hay isn't totally junk, but not many people are going to buy it. Horse, dairy, and especially goat people want quality hay, and a beef producer in Kentucky won't touch a small square bale even if you paid him to take it. So you got to have something to do with your damaged and culled hay. Sometimes you'll get lucky and get away with a mess, like the year I bought 30 acres of standing alfalfa from a neighbor. It had a little ryegrass in it. I did not know then how quickly ryegrass turns yellow. There was probably less than 20% in the hay, but every bale looked like a bale of straw. Remember, they like it green. As we were finishing it up, I was wondering what I was going to do with this mess. While we were picking it up, one of my best customers called and said he really needed some alfalfa. I told him I didn't have any this early in the year, except I've got this with a little bit of ryegrass in it. I told him, now it's yellow, and I mean yellow, but young ryegrass is still good hay. I gave him a good discount, so he said, bring it on. When I got there to Perry, Georgia, he was shocked at how yellow it was. We unloaded and went on our way. 2 days later, he called back. Hey, you got any more of that yellow hay? They love it down here. He's retired now, but whenever I see him, he still talks about that yellow hay. My cows have saved my butt more than once. One year I had a beautiful stand of hay in November, over knee high, and the forecast was for 10 days of dry weather. I know it's hard to cure hay in November, but 10 days in the 70s should about do it. So I cut it. 5 days in, they changed the forecast. Long story short, the boys and I were out there on Thanksgiving Day baling wet alfalfa. Maybe that's why Father farms alone. Or maybe it was the time that we had to take down tobacco on Christmas Day. Go figure. 1,000 bales stacked in the barn at 20 to 25% moisture. A few days later, we unstacked it and sorted out the wet and hot bales and salted them and then restacked them. The boys thought that was a lot of fun too. But I bought about 30 500-pound steers and fed them that moldy, salty hay, and they licked it right up. I fed them the entire batch and they gained about 200 pounds a head by spring. I really lucked out on that deal. My advice to anyone wanting to produce any kind of hay is to identify your market first, then develop a program to exploit that market. I have very good customers. They leave me signed blank checks in the stable and they don't complain, but they will only pay so much for hay. They will not pay more no matter how good it is. I can't sell my very best hay for any more than I can sell my average hay for. So I don't strive for that top-notch hay cutting every cutting. Identify your market, find out what the customer wants, and then provide a quality product at a fair price. I have picked up 2 co-ops that buy all my grass hay because I provide a consistent supply and a tight bale. And when I say program, I mean the entire operation. My program is alfalfa, grass hay, straw, and pine straw. They all use the same equipment. The pine straw backhaul permits me to be competitive in a market where I otherwise would not be. Anyone with any sense and good credit can grow hay. You have to be willing to provide something the other guy doesn't. Discover your uniqueness and learn to exploit it in the service of others. And remember, they like it green.